stands for genetically modified organism. Now, the creator who created all of this, whether you call him Jehovah, Allah, Atana, Nyumo, the supreme creator created everything as you see it specifically. Everything that was created is so complex, but it manifests itself in simplicity. Our human body. But every gene has what they call DNA. It's the code. The DNA is what will make this decide that it's going to be yellow or this will be blue. If it's a living organism, the DNA is what will determine whether you have blue eyes or curly hair or you have brown skin or you're very tall or you're short. That depends on the genetic code in each individual. Now, when scientists go and take a gene from, let's say, the cowpea, like they're doing now, and they take another gene from an insect and insert it into the cowpea, that becomes a genetically modified organism in the fact that that crossing is not natural. It can never happen in nature. So a goat can never cross a spider in nature. Just like a human being cannot cross a fish, but in the lab they can cross the genes of a human being and a fish. That is genetic modification. And what we are warning is that there are unintended risks of genetic engineering, in the sense that when you do these mixes, the outcome can be something you didn't expect. So we're not waiting for people to be having 3 arms and 4 legs or whatever unintended outcome of that genetic engineering is. We are rather telling Ghanaians and our policymakers that since we have 40% of our food rotting on our farms, they should rather turn their eyes there and stop talking about the population is rising, lack of food security. They should start doing policies that don't make it possible for chicken to come from Brazil and be cheaper than the honest Ghanaian farmer who grows chicken here. They shouldn't make it possible for Vietnam rice to come to Ghana when it is cheaper than what the rice farmers in the Volta region will toil to grow. So these are the developments. I'll give my colleague the mic. In this garden here, there are so many types of trees. There's not just one flower. If we came here and there was only one flower, this place would be very boring. There are so many types of trees. It's an interrelated environment. There are insects and birds in these trees. And this is how a natural living space is. If we go GMO, we're going to bring what you call uniformity. Now, I'll tell you that if you've seen a cob of maize genetically comes from Mexico. That's the home of maize. Like the cowpea is genetically from this sub-region. Maize comes from Mexico. If you look at what original maize looks like, it looks like a cartoon. There's red, yellow, green, blue, orange cobs, like a cartoon, but that's real maize. Today, what do we have? We have only what? Yellow or white maize, because we started to genetically engineer these crops. You can't tell me that the one with all those colors has the same nutritional value as the yellow maize. You can't tell me that. This is what we are losing when you lose biodiversity. When you force farmers to only have one type of seed, then there'll be so many varieties of plants that are not seen anymore, because it's all uniformity. That is what is going to do. Now, agroecology, like I said, this is an agroecological space, in the sense that when the army fall worm came, did you see it go and ravage the forest? Because it can't do anything in the forest. An army worm can only be a champion on a farm where they spray deadly chemicals, and all the birds, all the lizards, all the frogs, all the mice, any animal that can eat a worm can't live on that farm. A worm will be a champion there. But a worm will not come and be a champion here, because there'll be birds in these trees, there'll be lizards, there'll be frogs that will eat that worm. So the best balanced system is an agroecological system. Let me tell you that we went to a seed fair in Benin last year. We were so amazed at the kind of specimens and seed banks that our brothers in the Sahel region had, compared to we in the so-called tropical region where there's lots of rain. Our brothers in Mali, Guinea, Burkina, even Chad, the kind of seeds they had, we were so impressed. But you know why? Because over there, they only get 3 months of rainfall. If you're going to try and play a lotto with your harvest and try a seed from somewhere that can't grow, you will starve. So then they don't joke around with just using any kinds of seeds. They use the seeds that their ancestors used, that they know the harmattan, it knows the dryness, it knows there'll be little rain, but it will still sprout. So that proves that biodiversity is important in allowing every region to produce its own seeds. A seed that is produced by maize in Salaga necessarily is not going to grow the same if you go and plant it in Zima, or the other way around, because they are both different environments. So the uniformity of biodiversity is going to bring That's what's going to be the outcome of GMO. There's a lady in the back here. So that with grain and with a seed, if you have a bag of grain at the back of a lorry that has been imported to Tema, a bag of maize grains, and it is loaded on the back of a lorry going to Tamale or Sunyani or to Salaga, and any of those bags or sacks gets torn, and the seeds, the grains from that sack fall on the roadside, all they need is moisture and a comfortable soil, and they will germinate. That would be a violation of the international rules that govern how such living organisms should be moved about. So the assurance from the National Biosafety Authority is not comforting at all. Whether it's going to be grown on our soil or whether it's going to go in our mouths, for us it's the same thing. We say that the present problems affecting agriculture, they've totally turned a blind eye to, and if they look at that, there's no way Ghana will be doing GMO. So the National Biosafety Authority rather should be educating Ghanaians about what they're doing almost undercover. And again, you are from one of the biggest media houses in Ghana. I would challenge Graphic to do an anecdotal survey. How many Ghanaians know about GMO? Let's discuss this. We've called for national debates several times. We've called for those who profess GMO to come and answer to us. We've had private debates. They can never survive when there are Ghanaians there to listen to what they say. But somehow they run back, and you can see that they are answerable to people outside. It is not the Ghanaian people they are bothered about. Your opinion doesn't matter. It is the opinion of the international scientific community that is important to them. The opinion of the donors, the opinion of those who are sending funds, who send them to school, who research, give them grants for their research. But Ama, Kwesi, Kojo is more important than any of those people. This is what Food Sovereignty Ghana and our allies are saying today. Gobe, Kose, Red. I'm sure that we'll agree that if there are 30 million Ghanaians every day, about 10 million Ghanaians are going to eat beans. Am I right? So if 10 million Ghanaians are going to have their diet changed, are you telling me the National Biosafety Authority has done its job at this moment, that many people have no clue what GM is, and we're going to switch our watches soon, and God forbid they have their plans, they'll genetically modify the rice, it will be GM rice and beans. And if you read independent research, that is why there's a reason why Bayer Monsanto, which is owned by a German company, is not allowed to plant one GM on German soil. Media men and women of Ghana, Syngenta is a Swiss company owned by Switzerland, and it is not allowed by Swiss law to plant one GM plant on Swiss soil. So we should ask ourselves, so what is so cheap about us that we accept everything that is just good for us? In the 70s, this same kind of research came back. And you know, research, you can tweak research to give you the results that you want. The funder. He who plays the pipe calls the tune. They came to Ghana in the 70s and told your mothers and fathers and all our uncles and aunties that palm oil, shea nut butter, and coconut oil were unhealthy and they were highly saturated fats. So what did they do? We started eating hydrogenated fats. Today, speak to the doctors. They'll tell you that that is the cause of all the lifestyle-related diseases. But it was a kind of research that came to take us off that path. They are here again, and we are warning you. GMO is the reason why, if you go to a shop in Europe, organic food is sold at a premium. Who pays premium for bola? Who really pays premium for rubbish? So why wouldn't we want our Ghanaian farmers to be in a regime where, when we've gotten all that we'd like to eat here, they can export to the biggest markets? After all, where we are positioned, we have an advantage over East Africa, 6 hours to Europe by air. We should be creating an organic haven, this black star of Africa. And yet, because a few people have seen a few people, they're saying all of you want GM cowpea, all of you want GMO wachi, all of you want GMO kose. It's almost criminal. And that's why we're calling on the Attorney General's office, who should know better, that there's a case in court. We've been going to court for 8 years. There's a case in court as we speak, where they are the defendants, that they should know better not to allow the release of 14 GMOs, whether it's for food consumption through the mouth or on the soil, because the case is challenging the commercial release of the BT cowpea. So if we don't respect the law, this place will be a jungle. So we should ask ourselves these pertinent questions. Our neighbors in Burkina were growing GM cotton. About 3, 4, 5 years ago, they stopped growing GM cotton. Why? Because the buyers who were buying their GM cotton said the cotton quality and the fiber was going down. So what did they do? They went back to the normal cotton. When they went back to normal cotton, they got a higher yield. This demystifies the myth that GM will give you a higher yield. They got a higher yield, but I'm telling you now that Burkina has leadership which is thinking transgenerational, that GM agenda is done. There will be no GM agenda in Niger, in Mali, in Burkina, in Senegal, because they're thinking intergenerationally. If Ghana is going to continue to follow, we'll be one of the last when we were first. So the media have an extremely important role in educating Ghanaians, and I think it's evident, but I won't say it, I'll leave it to you. You check your listeners, check your audience, how much they know about GMO. Some of you even here, how much you know about GMO. That will tell you whether the National Biosafety Authority has met its mandate to educate Ghanaians and even get their endorsement that yeah, Ghana no, you pay GMO. Go to Mokola, there's nobody there that knows about GMO. Go and ask them, GMO. This is a reflection of the fact that there's a fraud going on. So we are not answerable to the international community, we are answerable to the people of Ghana. So should our politicians be answerable to the people of Ghana. And I think it's media people that have that power as the fourth realm of the estate to force them to be responsible.